Good afternoon. Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Mr. Midhamu TK. I'm so excited to have you here today. If you are new around here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications so you never miss an update. In today's video, we are going to dive into something really interesting. How you can plan teaching quadratic equations. Whether you are a beginner or already have some experience, I've got you covered. So grab your notebook, get comfortable, and let's get started. The level I recommend is grade 9 to 12 because the subject is mathematics, topic is quadratic equations, and the duration is 60 minutes. So by the end of the lesson, the students should be able to identify the standard form of quadratic equation. Number 2, solve quadratic equations by factoring using the quadratic formula and completing the square. Number 3, understanding and applying the relationship between discriminant and the nature of the roots. Number 4, graph quadratic functions and identify key features such as the vertex, axis of symmetry, and intercepts. Materials you require in this lesson are whiteboard and markers, graphing calculators, handouts of quadratic equations and the quadratic formula, computers, tablets if available for graphing software, or projector for visual aids if they are available. Lesson procedure. Number 1, introduction to quadratic equations, which will take 10 minutes. Start with a hook. Begin with a real-life application, e.g. projectile motion, area problems, where quadratic equations are used. For example, when you throw a ball into the air, its height can be modeled by a quadratic equation. Let's find out how. That is what we call the projectile motion. Define quadratic equation. Write the general form of a quadratic equation on the board. ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, where a is not equal to 0 and a, b, and c are constants. Explain the components to the students. A, coefficient of x squared. It determines the direction and width of the parabola. B, coefficient of x affects the location of the vertex. C, constant term affects the vertical position of the graph. Example, write and explain a simple quadratic equation such as x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0, highlighting the coefficients and their role. So, for example, in that case, A is 1, B is negative 5, and C is 6. 1 determines the direction and width of the parabola. Negative 5 affects the location of the vertex, and 6 affects the vertical position of the graph. Solving quadratic equations by factoring will take 15 minutes. Introduce factoring method. Explain that sometimes quadratics can be factored into two binomials. Example, solve x squared minus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0 by factoring. You can see how we solve that and come to the answer x minus 2, x minus 3 is equal to 0 in my other video of examples of solving quadratic equations. Set each factor equal to 0, x minus 2 equals 0 and x minus 3 equals 0. And solve for x, you find that x is 2 and x is 3. I've had a detailed video on how to go about it. Just look at the channel. Guided practice. Solve another quadratic by factoring as a class. Example, solve x squared plus 7x plus 10 is equal to 0. Independent practice gives students a set of quadratic equations to factor and solve on their own. Example problems, x squared minus 3x minus 10 is equal to 0, and x squared plus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0. Introduce the quadratic formula. 15 minutes. Write the quadratic formula on the board. Explain that this formula can solve any quadratic equation even if it cannot be factored easily. How to drive that formula, I'll bring it in another video. Discuss the discriminant. Highlight the part of the quadratic formula under the square root. B squared minus 4ac is called the discriminant. If the discriminant is positive, there are two real solutions. If it is 0, there is one real solution, a repeated root. And if it is negative, there are no real roots. The solutions are complex. We are talking about the discriminant b squared minus 4ac. Example, solve 2x squared minus 4x minus 6 is equal to 0 using the quadratic formula. Identify A is 2, B is 4, and C is negative 6. Substitute them into the formula, and you end up finally with negative 4 plus or minus 8 over 4. So the solutions are x equals negative 4 plus 8 over 4, which is equal to 1, or x is equal to negative 4 minus 8 over 4, which is negative 3. Guided practice. Solve another equation together using the quadratic formula. Example, x squared minus 4x minus 5 is equal to 0. Independent practice. Assign a set of quadratic equations to solve using the quadratic formula. Completing the square, 10 minutes. Introduce the method. Explain that completing the square is a way to convert a quadratic equation into a perfect square trinomial, which can then be solved by taking square roots. Example, solve x squared plus 6x minus 7 is equal to 0 by completing the square. X squared plus 6x is equal to 7. That is, you take the constant to the right side, and half the coefficient of x to both sides, which is 9 to both sides, and you get x squared plus 6x plus 9 is equal to 7 plus 9. X squared plus 6 plus 9 is a perfect square, and so can be factored as x plus 3 squared is equal to 16. Take the square root on both sides. X plus 3 is equal to plus or minus 4, and x is equal to 1 or x is equal to 7. Guiding practice. Solve another equation together using this method. Example, x squared plus 8x minus 5 is equal to 0. Independent practice. Have students complete the square for various quadratics. Example, x squared plus 10x minus 11 is equal to 0. Graphing quadratic functions will take 10 minutes. Introduction to graphing. Show how the graph of a quadratic function is a parabola. Discuss the general shape, U-shaped, and how the coefficients affect the direction and width. The vertex is given by the formula x equals negative b over 2a from the formula. The axis of symmetry is the vertical line through the vertex. Graph. Graph y is equal to x squared minus 4x plus 3 by finding the vertex and plotting the key points. Practice. Have students graph a quadratic equation of their choice or one assigned to them. Conclusion and wrap-up. 5 minutes. Review key concepts. Quickly review the methods for solving quadratics, factoring the quadratic formula, completing the square, and graphing. Exit ticket. Ask each student to write down one way to solve a quadratic equation and one real word application of quadratic equation. Assignment, homework, give practice problems that involve solving quadratics by all three methods, factoring, quadratic formula, and completing the square. Formative assessment, observe student participation and problem solving during guided and independent practice. Summative assessment, review exit tickets and homework for understanding and correct application of methods. For advanced students, provide more challenging quadratic equations, including those with complex roots. For struggling students, provide additional scaffolding, such as step-by-step guide or online resources like interactive graphing tools. And that's a wrap for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think, or if there is something else you want me to cover next time. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you'll be notified when the next video drops. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Meanwhile, I'm going to put the answers to the questions which were given in this video at the end of this slide. Goodbye and enjoy yourself. Credits, content and presentation, Mr. Midhama TK. Special thanks. Credits assistant by Chat OpenAI, inspired by naked equations. Again, remember, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more engaging maths tutorials and real-life application. I end with a quote below by an anonymous person. All the worlds are stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, and he who doesn't advance recedes. Work very hard on these videos, and you'll never be the same again in mathematics. I would like to finish this video by giving the answers to the questions on the guided questions. So, here are the solutions to your quadratic equations. Write and explain a simple quadratic equation. Example, x squared minus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0. Explanation. This is a quadratic equation where the highest power of x is 2. The equation is in standard form a squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a equals 1, b equals negative 5, and c is equal to 6. The guided equations which were in the video earlier required to be solved by factoring. We had a there, x squared plus, so the question was x squared plus 7x plus 10 is equal to 0. The factors are x plus 5, x plus 2 is equal to 0. Solutions will become x is equal to negative 5, x is equal to negative 2. X squared minus 3x minus 10 equals 0. Factors are x minus 5, x plus 2 is equal to 0. Therefore, solutions are x is equal to 5, x is equal to negative 2. And the last question on factoring in the guided equations was x squared plus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0. Factor x plus 3 times x plus 2 is equal to 0. And the solutions are x is equal to negative 3, x is equal to negative 2. Remember, I'm giving these questions because I expect you to try them and see whether you can get these solutions. The solving by using the quadratic formula section, you are supposed to solve x minus 4x minus 5 is equal to 0. You know that is the formula where you identify a is equal to 1, b is equal to negative 4, and c is equal to negative 5. Discriminant b squared minus 4ac is equal to negative 4 squared minus 4 times 1 times 5. Negative 5 is equal to 16 plus 20, which is 36. Therefore, the roots are x equals 4 plus or minus 6 over 2, and the solutions are x equals 5 or negative 1. The questions on the section on completing the square, x squared plus 8x minus 5 is equal to 0. Rewrite the equation as x squared plus 8x is equal to 5. Complete the square by adding the coefficient of x, which is 8, or divided by 2 squared is equal to 16 to both sides, and you get x plus 4 squared is equal to 21. Therefore, you solve by finding the square root of both sides. X plus 4 is equal to plus or negative root 21. Solutions are x is equal to negative 4 plus or negative root 21. You can find the values. B x squared plus 10x minus 11 is 0. Rewrite x squared plus 10x is equal to 11. Complete the square you add. Have the coefficient of x squared gives you 25 to both sides, and you have x equals x plus 5 squared equals 36. Find the square root of both sides. X plus 5 is equal to plus or minus 6. Solutions are x equals 1, x is equal to negative 11. Graph the equations. A, y is equal to x squared plus 10x minus 11. The vertex is x equals minus b over 2a, which is equal to negative 10 over 2 times 1 gives you negative 5. The vertex point is negative 5, negative 36. Plot other points, like when x is equal to 6 and x is equal to negative 4, find the corresponding values of y. Y equals 2x minus 8x plus 5. The vertex is x is equal to minus b over 2a equals negative 8 over 2 times 2 equals 2. Vertex point is 2 minus 3. Plot other points like when x is 1 and x is 3. So that comes to the end of that video, which has been thoroughly relaxed. Goodbye, and I meet you some other time.